The man standing at the highest point on Earth looked down and thought only one thing, the possibility of death. But that wasn't his real fear. His real fear was having to turn back after coming this far. Sir Edmund Hillary quietly took a breath, or tried to. At 8,000 meters, breathing was as difficult as running underwater. The oxygen in the air was 33% less than at sea level. Every breath was a struggle. Hillary was a beekeeper from New Zealand. He grew up among honey jars as a child, and when he finished school, he continued his father's business. Mountains were a distant dream for him, until one day he saw a photograph of the Himalayas in a local newspaper. Everything changed after that day. In 1951, he attempted to climb Everest for the first time. He failed. The weather turned bad. The team retreated. Hillary knelt on the mountainside, looking up. "I'll be back," he whispered, "and I will conquer you." 2 years passed. When May 1953 arrived, Hillary was at Everest's base again. This time was different. He was more prepared, more determined, and he had no more time to lose. Team leader John Hunt gathered all the climbers. "Everest will test us," he said. "Not our strength, but our character. Not only the strong will win, but those who never give up." Hillary listened quietly. He didn't like to talk, but those words sank deep into him. The climb began. The first days were relatively easy. Ice cracks, slippery slopes, small obstacles. But as the mountain rose, the difficulty multiplied. The cold penetrated their bones. The wind tried to throw them off the cliffs. Oxygen became scarce. On the 10th day, Hillary woke up in his tent. His fingers were numb. He couldn't feel his toes. For a moment, he thought about his family waiting for him in New Zealand, his wife, his children, the warm home. Then he looked up. The summit was still invisible, hidden behind clouds, but he knew it was there. "Just a little more," he whispered to himself. His climbing partner, Tenzing Norgay, was a Sherpa. He had climbed Everest 6 times before, but had never reached the summit. He was quiet like Hillary, but his eyes held a fire, a determination that couldn't be extinguished. One morning, Tenzing sat next to Hillary. He said nothing, just looked at the mountain. Then he turned to Hillary and smiled slightly. "Today?" Hillary asked. Tenzing nodded. "Today." They prepared their equipment, oxygen tanks, ropes, ice axes, crampons. Everything had to be perfect. One mistake at this altitude meant death. As they began climbing, the wind started to blow. A fierce wind, the kind that could knock a man off his feet. But Hillary kept climbing, one step, then another, and another. His legs trembled, his lungs burned, his head spun. But he didn't stop. After a while, he heard a sound, a hissing sound. He looked down. His oxygen tank was leaking. His heart stopped for a moment. If the oxygen ran out, he would die here, alone, on this frozen mountain, far from home. But he didn't panic. He checked the tank. The leak was small. If he was careful, he had enough oxygen to reach the summit. If he was careful. He looked at Tenzing. Tenzing had noticed too, but he said nothing, just nodded, as if to say, "We continue." They continued. The slope became steeper. The ice became more slippery. Every step required double the effort. Hillary's muscles screamed for him to stop. His mind whispered, "Go back, you're safe below." But he didn't listen, because he knew. This was his last chance. If he turned back now, he would never return. He would live his whole life thinking, "What if I had continued?" And he couldn't bear that thought. So he climbed. One step, then another, and another. Suddenly, Tenzing stopped. Hillary looked up. Tenzing was pointing ahead. A flat area, flat enough to stand on. There was nowhere left to climb. The summit. Edmund Hillary was at the top of Everest, the first human to stand at this point. 8,848 meters above sea level, the roof of the world. But he felt no joy. Not yet, because he knew something everyone else would forget. Getting to the top was only half the journey. Now he had to get down. And that was the truly dangerous part. He looked at Tenzing. Tenzing looked at him. They didn't smile, didn't celebrate, just shook hands. "We did it," Hillary said quietly. "We did it," Tenzing repeated. They spent 15 minutes at the summit. Hillary took a few photographs. Tenzing left a small offering to the gods, a Buddhist ritual. Then they began descending. The way down was worse than the way up. Their bodies were exhausted, the oxygen was almost gone, every step was a risk. At one point, Hillary slipped. His foot slid on the ice. For a second, he felt himself falling, into the void, into nothingness. But Tenzing's hand grabbed him. Strong, firm, careful, Tenzing said calmly. Hillary nodded. His heart was pounding. They continued descending, slowly, carefully. When they finally reached the base camp, the other climbers ran toward them. "Did you make it?" they shouted. "Did you reach the summit?" Hillary nodded quietly. "We made it." Cheers erupted. People hugged, cried, laughed. But Hillary felt only emptiness. He had achieved what he dreamed of. He had reached the highest point in the world. His name would go down in history. But inside, he felt nothing. That night, lying in his tent, he realized something. The summit wasn't the goal. The journey was the goal. The struggle, the determination, the choice not to give up. The summit was just a point, a moment. But the person he became on the way there, that was what truly mattered. Days later, when reporters asked him, "How did you feel at the top?" Hillary answered simply, "Tenzing and I did it together. Not I. We." Because he understood. True victory wasn't about being first. It was about respecting those who walked beside you, about recognizing that without Tenzing, he would never have made it. Years later, Hillary used his fame not for himself, but for the Sherpa people. He built schools, hospitals, bridges. "Everest gave me everything," he said. "Now it's my turn to give back." And that was the true story of Edmund Hillary. Not a man who conquered a mountain, but a man who conquered himself.